Someone was out throwing a spear last weekend, but what did you do? They were at a Spartan obstacle race. There's 5K, 10K, half marathon, and even longer races. But with obstacles along the way, wall climbs, monkey bars, barbed wire, and yes, even spear throws. It's incredible. The people, the energy, the support, the camaraderie, even the course itself. I promise you'll be glad you took it on. Race with your friends, coworkers, even by yourself. You'll make new friends on the course. I have a limited amount of free races to give away with Spartan this year. If you want to change your life with one simple move, make a public commitment and put a date on the calendar. All you need to do is post a video or photo of yourself training for you and your Spartan race. Use the hashtag Spartan Training and tag @Spartan. Tag us too, and make sure you send me a screen grab and I will give you a code for a free Spartan race. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at orcacoolers.com. And what better way to go into the summer than with a new cooler or a chaser, traveler, camper, barrel, all the good things that they have at Orca Coolers, all the different ways you can hold your drinks, and then you can put your drinks in those roto-molded coolers. Make sure to use code DADSEASON for 20% off your order. That's code DADSEASON for 20% off your order at orcacoolers.com. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at distilleryproducts.com, the best place to go for wholesale pricing on laser-edged glassware, other swag like flasks, and cool things there. They have those mirror tumblers that are good too. Make sure to reach out to me. I'd love to get you in touch with Carson, Janie, Vicky, all the good folks at distilleryproducts.com. That's where we use for our glasses. You should use them too. If you're a podcast, a distillery, a blog, maybe you're a bourbon group, go ahead and use distilleryproducts.com. All right, Zeke, I have a cold open for you tonight, and it's not necessarily something funny. I mean, if you want to interject with something funny, it's okay. It's just a rant. It's an old man rant. It's a get off my lawn rant. I was driving down the road today, and there was a girl. Congratulations to her. She's a recent grad, but she literally put on her window like she was a bachelorette. She put, "Here's my Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, if you want to send me something for graduating." Has it got to the point where it's really okay to ask people for money like that?
I mean, there's a couple of, B&Bs over here by me, and I used to have a B&B, and that's been commonplace in the bachelorette party space, I guess you would say, for some time now.
But like somebody for graduating, putting it on their window, is it just shooting your shot, thinking you're going to try something and maybe you might get $100 out of it? Or do people really think that like we want to pay you for graduating?
I think the better play, honestly, just like troll the shit out of them. Send a penny. Don't spend it all in one place.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us a part of your day. So I have another fun story. I feel bad. We're sitting here talking, and we're like, wow, we're really behind in May. Not only did we have my family all had strep, and then the next week we all got COVID, and then a couple weeks later, let's just shoot to this past weekend. It's Friday night. There was the big Tennessee whiskey experience that was happening at Nissan Stadium on Saturday. So there was a reception Friday night. I just got there. Was probably there 45 minutes. Got some barbecue. Kerry Bringle was there, so he brought some peg leg porker, and I sat down, got a plate of barbecue, was talking to my friends from Uncle Nearest, and saw our friends at Blue Note, saw a whole bunch of people in the guild that it was great to see. I'm sitting there and I am just starting to finish up dinner and my phone starts blowing up. My wife had a fever of 103, was shaking, coughing, couldn't breathe. So I rush home and I grab her because we had our daughter, like we couldn't, our neighbors weren't home, so we couldn't drop our daughter off someplace. So I had to come home. I get her, take her to the emergency room. We drop her off and she has pneumonia. It has been a she's good. She's home. She's been resting all weekend. None of us have it, which is good. But it has been a crazy month for the Edwards household, and I'm sorry we're behind.
Just got to get some of those fogger things and just toss them up under the house and stay gone for 24 hours.
I mean, what's that tent? Like, I got a tent and fumigate my house. I really think so.
I mean, literally, at this point, you just going to have to go to the hotel for, an overnight, 24 hours, get some of those fogger things, toss them under the house or whatever you got to do. And, just cleanse all the demons.
This house has exorcised the demons. I do declare it has been a crazy month. I was looking forward because my wife and daughter were going to go to Florida for my niece's graduation this upcoming weekend. And I was going to have a date with myself to go to the movies and watch Top Gun 2. Everything kind of got canceled. So they are no longer going to Florida. I don't have a couple nights to myself with the dogs. It's okay. It's good. I'm going to try to find some time to watch Top Gun 2, though.
Is it really Top Gun 2? Because, it's been, 30 years? I feel like it's remake, reboot, re-something. I just don't feel like Top Gun 2 is appropriate.
Well, it's technically not called Top Gun 2. I guess it's just Top Gun : Maverick.
I feel a little better about that then.
Yeah, it's Top Gun Maverick, which the name, I feel like that name, they could have done something better. I feel like they just wanted to keep Top Gun in the name somehow. I don't know. One of the first questions on Google is who plays Maverick in the new Top Gun. It's like, no, it's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the only Maverick.
I thought that was the purpose of the name, was to signify like he's still around. I have not read anything relating to plot, what it may or may not be about, etc. But my assumption was that it was simply he was going to basically kind of like reprise Thick's role and now be the educator of the school and probably teach some young kids some important lessons, very blandly stated.
The plot just finally leaked. Because they were keeping it very, very, very tight. All the media that had gone in advance to see the screeners and all that, they were basically told if you leak anything on the plot, I'm sure they were threatened with lawsuit after lawsuit. Anyways.
This day and age, everything's going to leak.
Eventually. But today we are drinking from New Holland Brewing in Michigan. They release Dragon's Milk Origin Small Batch Bourbon Whiskey. Now, we had Dragon's Milk before a few years ago. And when I say a few years ago, it was when we used to record at your house years ago. We had the Dragon's Milk beer and there was some whiskey. Now, this is different because this is coming out. It's 95 proof. It is the first year-round bourbon with an age statement of 5 years or more for the craft distiller. And this is one of the things that Origin's unique status among modern bourbons is owed to the distilling process that made it possible. Namely, the near 100-year-old Prohibition-era pot still that resides at New Holland's production facility is used to produce all of their bourbon recipes. This traditional still imparts fruit-forward character and a balanced body while allowing New Holland to produce the true small batch bourbon, always bottled at the pinnacle of flavor in batches of 100 barrels or less. The recipe features corn, rye, and a high ratio of malted barley, which is very evident when you take a sip of this one. To editorialize this press release, Origin's high barley mash bill and 5-year maturation in char 3 oak barrels offers the drinker a one-of-a-kind experience, Adam Dickerson, brand manager at New Holland, said. We are particularly enthusiastic about Origin's 4 signature tasting notes of stone fruit, citrus, baked pastries, and vanilla wafer. The marriage of these flavors, along with the myriad of additional sub-flavors, forms a truly memorable bourbon and presents you with new tasting notes to uncover each time you revisit. The name Origin derives from the origin story of Dragon's Milk. The original Dragon's Milk Stout was born from bourbon barrels, and those barrels have become an integral part of the evolution of New Holland's brewery and distillery. The Dragon's Milk name has evolved from the original stout to become the parent brand to an entire portfolio of beer, bourbon, and other barrel-aged endeavors. Origin celebrates the pure spirit that crafted a legend. Every legend has an origin, Dickerson said. This is ours. This is out so far. It distribution to Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Colorado, Texas, and California. That was a lot of information. What do you think about this whiskey, Zeke Baker? Do you have any questions for me first before we start going?
You said mash of corn, rye, and
high barley.
Yeah, no percents listed, but I think anything above 5 on barley could probably be considered high this day and age, right?
when we don't know what the mash bill is, it's like, I guess, I mean, I would think that it would have to be over 10 to say high barley, right?
That's fair. I just feel like if you looked at most mashes, they're what, 5 or less? I think Willett's the only distillery that does 15 standard for all their stuff.
Look at Old Elk. Old Elk's got like what, 30?
Yeah.
So is it high like a 30 or is it high above 10? I mean, that's a very ambiguous statement.
No, that was my thought of like, okay, like you're alluding that it's going to be forward in its taste to some aspects of that profile while also high barley.
High barley. I mean, we could talk about this. It's $45, and let's just get the tasting notes out of the way. And I normally don't read what they have in there. I have to think it's well over 10, just for the high ratio of malted barley. And I'll tell you why. They're talking about getting like fruit and citrus and pastries and all that. Like, I got malt, and when I
really didn't.
You didn't?
No. I mean, there's plenty of things that are, at least a few products that are in the market and have been for more than a minute that I lean towards they're in that higher malted barley profile. But I didn't necessarily get them here. My first thought was, well, these are beer people also now doing whiskey. Admittedly, I'm not smart enough about the whole distillation, fermentation jazz, but the folks that have the beer background, when they do stuff with a higher malted barley content, it tends to not strike me as well as other things that I presume don't do that.
It's funny though, because a lot of American single malts have been coming my way lately. So like Westland and Virginia Westward, there's a whole lot of stuff that's coming our way. And I know that you're going to sit there and say a lot of the stuff is very malty and it's not your jam because it kind of tastes like scotch without the whole shebang.
Well, no, I mean, I like a lot of those. I mean, I've always enjoyed Stranahan's Yellow Label. It's always been something I enjoy drinking. I mean, weirdly enough, I like the yellow more than the black, which most people look at me like, huh? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just telling you, I've drank both enough to know what I like.
Well, it's really funny because I get malt on this on the finish way more. I mean, it tastes almost like one of those American single malts where I know this has to have more than 51% corn, and those American single malts can be pretty much barley. Like the barley content on this, at least from what I'm getting, and it's funny that you're not getting it. I'm like, this has to be in the 30. Like this has to be high malt. I don't know. I enjoyed it for $45. If you like beer, if you like malt, if you like an American malt, I don't even have, because the malt really took it over for me. So do you have specific notes?
What I wrote down, literally, apologies to folks for being completely ADD on this one, both of us, but when you read those notes, I tasted it right away. I'm like, all right, I could find all 4 of those things in there. Were they super prevalent? Maybe not, but I wouldn't say someone was wrong. You know what I mean? Like I could get those things. For me, in a nutshell, I just put down initially there's a light sweetness and then a mild singe. And then that kind of grows into what I equate to a char salt singe kind of thing and a little bit of a beery finish. The first thing that popped into my head was cooperage wise. How, seasoned was the wood? What was the char? To me, especially at 95 proof, it seemed like the influences and what I was picking up predominantly was much more barrel driven than juice or product driven. And that's kind of what, I don't know the word. I wouldn't say agitated or aggravated, but like it left me thinking, is this the juice I'm tasting? Or did the barrel really morph this thing to not necessarily what it could or people thought it would be? I
just have to think, New Holland is really taking this. They're putting out a 5-year whiskey. I mean, they waited on it. I literally feel like we did New Holland because we did their beer barrel rye and their beer barrel bourbon way back in the day. So it wasn't called Dragon's Milk. It was just, that remember the
well, they had something like a spaceship on it or something too, right?
Yeah, and remember the rye was something I said it tasted like pepperoni pizza. That was the one that was the one I got pepperoni pizza on. But I mean, I feel like we did that back when we were doing the Instagram live show, which was 2016.
Long ass time ago.
2016, 2017. It's now 2022. They've been sitting on this stuff for 5 years. So they did that initial release. They learned a lot from it, and now they've been aging the whiskey and kind of getting it to a point where it's more mature, and they're putting out a more mature product, and they're not just kind of finishing a young product to get it out there. And it's at a good price. It's at $45 for 5-year whiskey. That, I mean, yeah, it's got a lot of malt. If you like some malt, I happen to like malt, and I think for a lot of those American single malts that are coming out, not many are coming out at $45. So, like, you look at everything about this, if you have the ability to get it, I think it's a solid pour for a solid price. I just want to congratulate them for putting out a good whiskey and not charging too much for it.
Those boxes are checked. I guess to me, and thinking wise, I'm probably still on the fence. But again, I'm much more on the fence in terms of the barrel that aged the product versus the product, if that makes sense, I guess.
You think they got to switch some cooperages?
I don't know. I mean, don't you get kind of like wood that wasn't necessarily seasoned for too long? Maybe too much of a char in there with it? We've tasted a fair amount of whiskey by now, good, bad, in between. And even stuff that's 3, 4, 5 years, I feel like you can kind of tell when, the juice just didn't come off or the mash didn't come off right versus, oh man, the barrel just, I don't know what it did, but it didn't synergize well with the product that was in it. It definitely didn't accentuate it, you know?
I didn't get a lot of the barrel, though. For this, the malt was so predominant for me, but I enjoyed it. It was good. I get your take. How about that? I appreciate you and your story.
It's really an asset to the team.
You tell your truth, Zeke Baker, and I'll tell mine.
I don't know that quote. Must have been some movie after 2000.
No, it's not a movie quote. Anyways, so this is $45. I think Zeke is probably a bar. I'm guessing. You tell me, buddy.
Yeah, I'm on the fence, and in a good way. Like I would, honestly want to revisit and retry these as far as future releases. Just because I don't know. I mean, I think the juice is in a good place. I just think the barrel kind of overshadowed it, really.
I'm getting one for $45. I mean, I think it's a great alternative to some of those more expensive American single malts. But thank you so much, New Holland, for sending us this whiskey. We really enjoyed it, or I did. Zeke is messing up some stuff with the barrel or whatever. But you could go ahead and find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. It's kind of been a crazy month. Sorry for all the craziness, y'all. We're hanging in there. We're doing what we can. You can also find us here in Nashville, Tennessee. Right, Zeke? Where else could the folks find us? I messed that up. Zeke.
What? You got to leave that.
Zeke, where else could the folks find us?
Well, you can also find us in Music City, USA. There we go.
Cheers.
Ciao.